Welcome back to Aveste Origins. We are back for 2023. This is the show where we interview amazing creators and entrepreneurs to learn their success stories from the very start. So it's been a while since we've caught up. We had a Christmas break. Sorry, we had a bit of a pause. But we've got a new studio, which is pretty amazing. And to celebrate that new studio, we have got an amazing guest. Brandon is a huge streetwear creator. He has a massive TikTok channel. He's also on Twitch, and he also has his own brand called S.I.L, which is a streetwear brand in his own right and is doing some amazing things. And we're going to talk all about that. He is a super smart guy. He's very, very ambitious. He wants to disrupt the fashion industry, and he has a crazy amount of knowledge about the scene. So we've very much been learning that from him in all of our conversations. And I think we're going to learn even more today, to be honest with you. We're going to talk about Balenciaga and what the hell is going on there, because quite frankly, it's pretty weird. How Brandon started and grew his TikTok channel from scratch and gained pretty much nearly 20,000 followers, which is amazing. And then also some of his best places to find streetwear online, which is going to be an unbelievable piece of info for a lot of people. And yeah, we're going to also discuss some key trends and things coming out of 2023, including one of our favorites, which is Blokecore. So make sure you stay tuned to understand what that is. So without further ado, let's get right into the show. You've got so much going on here. Like, you've got the vintage side that you're super interested in. You've got your own brands. You started this TikTok from scratch. You're also doing Twitch. How do you like describe what you do? Like, when people ask you, like, what do you do? Like, how do you describe it to people?
Yeah. So I kind of just like, I say like artist and creator. Like that's like the best way I can like put it. I'm a content creator. I like am a designer, and so I think both of those kind of fall under creation and creator. So you're right. I never thought about it, but like I do have a lot of things going on here. But yeah, I don't know. I think content creator and designer, those two are probably what sums it up the best.
Yeah. Have I missed anything off? Because like out of those four things, have I missed anything?
No, I think you're good.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to sum you up, mate, because you are doing so much. Like, you're one of those people that's just a super high achiever. You're just getting stuff done. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Thank you.
you have a lot on. you do. Like, so I think we first mentioned that you do TikTok. So you've got how many followers on TikTok now?
So I'm at 19.3 right now.
Amazing. So
19.3K, yeah.
that is huge, right? And we're super jealous because we'd love to have 19,000 followers on TikTok. So make sure you follow us if you're watching this now. I want to know a bit more about you, and I want to know a bit more about your background. Why don't you sort of explain your starting content creation from that perspective, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, the Spider-Man origin story. I got you. Yeah. So really, I mean, I've been into fashion since I was a kid. I was kind of more into art before fashion. And then it kind of gradually just changed. Like the more I got older, the more I started to get pulled towards fashion more. And then the kind of catalyst to me creating content and like really deep diving, going all the way with this stuff was I joined a vintage store in my old town, San Antonio, called the Vaulty. And at the time, TikTok was just kind of starting to gain popularity. And like Instagram had like implemented their reels, probably this was like at the beginning of 2020, somewhere around there. And they needed somebody to make content on like the reels side. And at the time, nobody really wanted to do that. So I was like, you know what? I got this. I'll try it. And, like I remember like posting my first video, or one of my first videos on TikTok just on my own account. And it was just some dumb trend. And then like it just like blew up. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So then with the store page, like I was able to create the content there. And like we were getting good response. I eventually just kind of took over creating the content for the entire store in general. So I was doing the Instagram and doing our TikTok and doing our reels. So I feel like I really got a good foundation and fundamental sense of how to create content through just creating it for the store. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, I really like to do this, but I want to do this for myself too. Like not necessarily like for when you're making content for a store, it's really cool because you have all this amazing product around you all the time. So there's like your brain can just like, pick, oh, here's like a Yeezy Gap jacket, I can make a funny video off that. Here's like some Balenciagas, I can make a funny video off that. Or like I can go really into detail with these Jowns that just released. But at the end of the day, it all has to wrap back to the store. So it's almost not, it's not an advertisement, but like, like it kind of is sometimes. But so I wanted to do something where it's more, I just get to talk about fashion. I just get to make funny content, and there's no underlying promotion behind it.
Why did you get into fashion in the first place? Like you've obviously like worked at that store, but obviously there was a passion before that store, like before you worked there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had been like, it was almost like a transition of where my art met where my love of clothes was. I started with, printing on t-shirts, making graphics, all that good stuff. And eventually I found that to be a little bit limited. And I've wanted to just find new ways to make clothes. And at the time, I mean, I was like 19. I didn't really know what I was doing. I started attending these like apparel sourcing shows when the pandemic hit. And I got to start meeting all these amazing manufacturers from India, China, Japan, you name it, everywhere around the world. So I was starting to understand kind of the business behind putting in these international orders, getting to understand, MOQs and fabric like weight and all these specifics that I had no idea. And at first it was kind of like a shock, like I had no idea. But as I got more experience, I found that, this is kind of the route I wanted to take. I wanted to create a better quality product than what I was doing. I wanted to, learn more about this fashion history, and that from working at that store and from having this kind of, I want to start a brand mentality from the past, I think that kind of created the perfect storm for me to just dive full force into really getting into fashion history. And with the store, I already had this kind of idea of like a vintage resale market, but I didn't really know about the designer side yet. So that's when I started to take that route of learning more about, Archive Raf and Undercover and Capital and all these other brands where I could really like appreciate the history, appreciate the design, and like then there's like this whole resale market behind it also, which was great. It's truly like an iceberg and a rabbit hole. And like, once I kind of just let myself fall down as far as I could go, like I find myself just trying to keep digging deeper and like finding new brands now or finding new fashion shows. Like I wish I could show y'all, but I have like an entire list of like new brands to look at where I'm going down the line of their shows, looking at the pieces they've made, learning a little bit about their history, and, just stay learning in fashion. I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And then in terms of like, I suppose when you're going through that there, you're going, I'm into vintage stuff. I'm into new stuff. I'm into finding stuff online. I'm into this sort of thing. Would you say that you're mainly a vintage guy?
Yeah. So I will always have like a love for vintage. That's where I started, at least in the resale or like learning about these markets. But I would say like the way I dress nowadays, I mix designer and vintage pretty like fluently. So sometimes I'll put on a full vintage fit, but the majority of the time, I'm wearing Chrome Hearts. This is a Yoji sweater, and I have vintage boots on and vintage pants on. So like, I like to mix it. It keeps it keeps my style like authentic to me, if that makes sense. So I feel like I have a pretty good knowledge about the designer and archive markets now, while having this like really solid, fundamental understanding of vintage too. So, as far as like streetwear goes, I would say, I'm not too much into the reselling of sneakers or streetwear anymore. I do I have appreciation for the newer guys and like underground streetwear a lot. That's where my interest is. If I'm buying a streetwear brand, it's going to be with someone like that. But, I came from selling like streetwear, sneakers, and vintage is the only one that stayed with me from that aspect.
Then you also started your own brand. So let's get into that for a bit now. So tell
Yeah.
us about, the brand is called S.I.L. So tell us about
Yes.
why you started the brand in the first instance.
Yeah. So, like I said, kind of beforehand, it was where my, artistic journey met this current fashion love. Those kind of came together. And now I feel like what I'm doing and why I'm making it is more just to create quality products, to create this, like, I feel like with all of the things I learned from going to these like apparel sourcing shows, to learning like fully how to make graphics and do graphic design, and then also this kind of library of fashion history that I can pull from, it really lets me execute my vision a lot better than, when I started. So I feel like I'm a lot more grounded and my foundation is stronger, if that makes sense. So now I'm here sitting in 2023, looking at a whole year, creating a spring collection, a fall collection, and revising, editing. I am going to be sampling like a large amount of products. I would probably say, like maybe like 10 to 12 per season. So splitting it up with spring, summer, and fall, winter. Sampling those, and then doing quality control checks down the line of, do I like this product? Do I think it fits in the collection? Does it, have does the product have the quality that I want? And then from there, create the content around those products that, I do end up liking, have that whole project behind me. So I have the content and the marketing, and then, we'll go and see, is this something that, I want to go full, large quantity run, or just stick to the small stuff. So I do like to do it this way, just because I can keep the quantity low, and then I can also keep that exclusivity high. And at the same time, I still have people asking me every day if they can still buy a hoodie. So
When are they coming, for people that are asking? Like, do you have the answer, or do you tell people it's coming soon?
yeah, it's coming soon. I am getting the first sample probably at the halfway mark into January, and then if it's just like the most perfect sample, nothing needs to be edited, then definitely like the start of February is going to be when that hoodie drops.
Yeah.
Nice. And how are you funding this as a business owner?
So I have some sponsorships with Grill that have a sponsorship. I just got one with a store here in Dallas called Second Street. They're like a national thrifting store in the U.S. So funding through there, and then I have money saved up from previous drops that I've done, where it's just the low quantity stuff, and then I also have the good old jobby job that supports me. So
Nice. Yeah, we
yeah.
all do. Everyone you speak to is, well, lots of people are all self-funding it, and you've got to give people a lot of respect, right, for going out and doing their day job, and then in the evenings and any minute they have, they're working on their hustle, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It can get pretty demanding at times. So, definitely advice is take a break when you feel like you have to. So, you don't want to get burnt out, because that burnout lasts longer than the break that you're just going to take for yourself.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier about like brand vision and storytelling. What exactly is I suppose, the story that you want your brand to tell, and what kind of people
Yeah.
are you trying to resonate with?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the brand itself, it's all about kind of pushing positivity, pushing this message of, love, happiness, all that good stuff. And then individually in the collections themselves, there's a deeper story inside of it. So with Shadowstock, the whole idea is that there's this concert going on based off Woodstock. So I've created, I have this mix and radio of the live concert going on. So that's an added, kind of thing that goes along with the drop, that people can they can find it, or, it will be put out for them. And then besides that, you know, I have a little bit with the content itself, telling that story of this concert that's going on. And that's just kind of, you know, I really appreciate that storytelling aspect, because in me, and I don't know if you guys know Tanner Dean, but we were on, he's another content creator, but we were on a live, I think like 2 nights ago, and we were talking about the importance of narrative in fashion, where it's like, you want to create this kind of whole universe around your brand and allow people to just be able to like deep dive into whether it's just one collection, for example, like with how Raf Simons did with May the Circle Be Unbroken, or, you know, it's just an entire like brand universe, like with the brand Hamkus, where they have like this whole like interstellar like group, and there's different factions, and each different style of clothes is part of like a different faction. And if you guys haven't seen that stuff, I definitely recommend it, because it's like they have like a whole language per each, you know, like each story. So it's just like it's wild. Like they really go like the full nines. But with what I'm doing, I do want to tell those stories individually. So like with my fall collection, I want to make a short film that goes alongside and tells in a full story. I don't want to, you know, give too many details about what the story actually is, but I want to pair that so it tells the story of the clothes while the characters are wearing them.
Was there something like a moment when you were like, oh, I saw this piece, I saw this designer, I learned this piece of information, and it was like, now I want to start the brand?
Yeah. At least for me, I think it was, and it wasn't, you know, what's interesting is it wasn't really like a catalyst as far as like fashion goes. There was like, I was at a museum in San Antonio, and there was this painting called She Is Love. So that's why I say S.I.L. And I was just like, and it's not like a picture of a person. It's just a complete abstract. But the way that the painting, it forms all these colors like so beautifully and so symmetrically. And when I was looking at it, I just like saw it, and I was like, I felt like this wave of just like inspiration, creativity, and just like absolute like appreciation for the beauty that like art can do to somebody. And that was definitely one of those moments where it's just like, bam, like I definitely know like this is kind of the avenue that I want to go. Like that feeling, it is very hard to feel like a second time. I'll tell you that.
Is this like your main like creative outlet, would you say?
Yeah. I definitely would say, so I like to keep a balance between the brand and content creation. So I feel like it's like almost like a seesaw. Like if I'm feeling like really inspired on content, the brand and creating clothes kind of takes that back seat. And then if I'm really inspired on creating like clothes, then content creation takes that back seat. So there's a little push and pull between the two, but I always have my focus, like whether it like with content, you know, you could be like walking down the street and then you see something and it's like, oh, that's a video. But with like creating clothes, that kind of just stays like in your subconscious like 99% of the day. So it's always there. Like I'm always thinking about it. And then I have those days where I just work on that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I've seen in your content as well that you're like actively still learning off your own back about fashion. Like you've taken a course recently, haven't you?
Yeah. So inside LVMH, I also just did a video on it. I got accepted to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. I'm currently saving up to like actually go back to college and get a degree in fashion. But in the meantime, I want to do as much, you know, courses that I can just to help me continue like learning. Like that's for anybody. That's like, if you're like past school, like always just keep learning. Like, it's just like so much better than just like thinking that you know everything and thinking that, you know, like this is where it ends, you know, like, besides inside LVMH, I'm taking a marketing course, but with inside LVMH, like it teaches you about the fundamentals of the luxury industry. It really goes in depth about like how do I say this? Like what defines what a luxury product is, the luxury market itself, oncoming trends of the luxury market. And then, you get to choose like some subcategories like creation and branding, and then supply chain and operations, or marketing and like retail sales, for example. But when I was in the creation and branding side of things, like that's where I really got to understand, what the what inherently makes a luxury brand a luxury brand. Like how do they, like what is their mindset when they're creating products? What is their mindset when they're like continuing to have this like luxury ideal? And that really kind of let me change my perspective. So I got to bring kind of like dial back what I was doing as far as creating clothes, look back at the brand, and like was able to see, like, for a specific example, there's these things called like brand DNA and brand codes. That's a big thing they talk about, where there's, whether it's like Louis Vuitton's monogram or like Bottega Veneta using that specific shade of green, there's things that signify that is, linked to that brand. So, that lets me kind of think, okay, hey, maybe there's more to this than, slapping my logo on a t-shirt, or slapping like just a random design on a hoodie. There's ways that you can kind of identify that this is your brand. And if you keep that just consistent in what you're making, then, that it goes a long way in kind of instilling that brand recognition as a whole.
Obviously, like going back to university or college, as you guys call it, is a big investment of one, time, and two, money. Do you think that investment will be beneficial compared to, say, I don't know how long the course is, but maybe 3 years of investing and giving the brand as much time as you possibly can? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So, I think that's a really good question, because you can always do it yourself, and there's more than enough, let's say, like there's more than enough resources online to definitely do that and learn. But I think at the same time, what fashion, like a university or college does for you is you're around other people like you, like 90% of your day. So you can learn a lot more on the creative side, on, the technical side. You get established with this amazing network around you while you're actually learning the fundamentals and the technical skills that you need to do. So I think it's almost like an incubator for like a startup company. You put a bunch of startups all around each other, and they're going to bounce ideas off each other. And I think that's what these universities are really, really good at doing. If you look, if we're going back in fashion history, like the Antwerp Six all came out of the same like university and area. And that's just like beautiful to me, because I don't know too much whether they were like friends in college, but like that would be crazy. But like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like you get like this beautiful little incubator of creativity and just people that love fashion. And that's like, it allows you to just kind of hone in and focus on what you're doing. Besides that, especially like FIT, you get to be in New York. So you're in like the creative hub of America. So, that's a definite plus too. But, it is a big investment of time and money. So, like I think there's definitely a good balance in between those if you can, and you feel like if you have the resources to be able to do it. I think, that option should be something you consider. But if it's more of like a kind of life or death situation, if you have to go and you got to like bust tables and struggle, then maybe that's not the best idea. And learning kind of that grassroots and doing it yourself is, the better route, because at the end of the day, you're going to understand like those technical skills and that creative aspect if you're doing, if you're like fully force on learning it yourself. Like, no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely. You've got the opportunity cost, haven't you, of the 3 years of giving it a
Yeah.
go. But then on the other side, as you said, you're not going to build a network sitting in your bedroom doing Coursera courses. And that network may allow you to fly quicker in those 3 years than you would have done in the 3 years just giving it a go by yourself. Right? You're a big thrifter, as they call it in the US, right?
Yes.
We'd love to understand a bit more about the kind of state of the thrifting market in the US. Like, do you guys buy from charity shops? Do you have dedicated shops? It sounds like that, buy these items in bulk and then kind of sift through them. I have a friend who used to, when he first started his business, he was literally walking from charity shop to charity shop and then reselling stuff. So sounds like you've done a bit of that in the past as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different kind of avenues to get your vintage items nowadays. You can go to like these charity shops and you got racks on racks of, like, depending on the size, there's massive amounts of clothes in these places sometimes. So you can go through and try and find the items that might have resale value or might not. Or if you're just, shopping for yourself, you can do that too. Or there's these, thrift resale stores that kind of work with these rag houses across the US. So all of that product goes to these rag houses that gets donated, and then these stores will buy in bulk from them, get it sent to them, and it's already kind of sifted through, so they got a good amount of product where they can just kind of, tag it, put it on the rack, That's for someone who's kind of been in the game a little bit longer. But as far as, doing the real deal thrifting, it can get a little hard nowadays. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's so many, like, with the popularity of thrifting, like, nowadays, you will see at least one other fashion person, like, in a thrift store at a time, like you'll see some dude in Doc Martens or Boston Berks, like, taking all the good stuff, so it's hard because there's a lot of competition nowadays. But at the same time, if you're kind of dedicated, like, you will get blessed. There's also places like the Goodwill bins. This is another place where, they just dump piles of clothes and then you just sift through them and try to find products. A lot of my friends, they do that. And, they've found, like, really, really good. Like, someone's found chrome hearts at the thrift. Someone recently just found, like, this Kurt Cobain vintage tee. There's, plenty of opportunity. And I'm sure you guys have seen the like day at the bins, like, TikToks, where someone will just find someone will spend the day there, and then they'll do, like, a time lapse of all the products they found, and it'll amount to, like, a $300 resale. So there's definitely opportunity if you're dedicated to spending that time, because it can get real at the bins. I'll just tell you that.
I've never heard of these Goodwill bins before. I'm just imagining a load of people fighting around them, like, literally pulling clothes apart. Like, is that what happens, or is it not like that?
Yeah. Sometimes if you and your homie identify, like, a high value product, it's really the first person to grab it wins, man. Like, and I mean, I've heard stories of people fighting over, like, off-whites at the bin. So yeah, there's, like, a whole, like, people actually, like, getting in fights type shit. So yeah, there's definitely.
I'm gonna have to look these up after this call. Goodwill bins, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we have them in the UK, do we?
Not in like in the bin sense, and like where, because these are, like, just paint us a picture, right? These are, like, literally, like, massive vats of clothes, right? They are huge. They're like, are they really tall, or are they just sort of like very long?
They're probably, like, about, like, 5 feet wide and, like, probably 4 feet tall.
Oh wow!
So
you could physically get in it if you wanted to.
A paddling pool of clothes.
Yeah, no, you can most definitely. Yeah. So. And they're just, like, these massive warehouses, and they'll have, like, rows of these bins, and then, like, they have cycle out times, so they'll, like, bring in new stuff, and then it's a whole new, like, a bunch of clothes. So those
Yeezy did that with Gap, right? He had the bins that were
he had them in massive bins and stuff. So it's kind of he was kind of emulating that kind of experience, but that's kind of how it is, like.
Awesome. And you said about it's getting ever more difficult to probably make a success of thrifting, but it sounds like if you've got enough kind of ambition to do it, you can. I think in the UK, like a lot of the charity shops now, they've even got people in there that kind of know their clothes now, and you go in and stuff isn't a good deal. Like stuff's quite expensive sometimes in these charity shops. I don't know if it's the same over there.
Yeah, and it is getting that way. I mean, with Goodwill now turning for profit, they're a corporate monster now. They're like getting smart about what they're pricing their products at. Like, I was at a Goodwill like in Arizona like a couple weeks ago, and I found a pair of like vintage Levi pants, and they were like $20, and I was like this would never happen. Like this I was like, what the heck, like. And it's not like those, like market for those are probably around like 40, but like still, you're going to the thrift to get like a ridiculous profit margin, not like a 50%,
and you know what? A 50% profit margin is quite good. And we also have to remember that money is going to charity. So it's not that bad, right?
Yeah. Well, not anymore. Not with Goodwill. If it's like Salvation Army, yes, but not with Goodwill.
A lot of them now have they'll have an online store, an eBay account as well, so that they can put the stuff that is a bit more designer on there and get even more money for it as well. So yeah, I think maybe the best days of thrifting may be in the past, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I think just with there's so many like corporations are now paying attention to this resale market. We see so much emphasis like being looked at now because this was like something that was ours, for a very long time, since like 2016. It was just the people's kind of market, you know what I'm talking about? And now we got all eyes on us. You got places like StockX, you have eBay, looking at this even closer now. You have Goodwill. So there's a lot more, and that does breed competition. So there is a lot more competition. So I wouldn't necessarily say the best days are over, but there is more people looking for a product. But if you have the knowledge of, the good stuff, those new kind of people that have just gotten into the game, they might look over and pass over that stuff. So there's still, that experience is going to trump, just being there, every day. So
yeah, I suppose it's about trying to identify some trends before everyone else gets on top of them as well. My friend Ryan is very good at doing that. And I'd say one that he's kind of identified in the UK before it really started taking off was the like worker shirts and also the Cuban shirts. He got in on them, and everyone else was just passing them up in the kind of like bins or wherever he gets his clothes from. So trying to identify the next trend before everyone else has got onto it, because they'll just be sifting through and they'll go, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many, the beauty about vintage is there's so many different avenues nowadays too. Like when it first started, I feel like the majority, we were just reselling vintage tees and like jackets and, the like big windbreakers and like that true 90s nostalgia. But now there's places like Afterhoods or even like No Maintenance, when they were, primarily selling vintage instead of their brand. There's like, they're focusing more on pieces to style, not necessarily like just that 90s nostalgia, or like that Y2K aesthetic. Like you can have like 60s pants paired with like a really nice Cuban shirt, like how you're saying. And like, that's, for me, that's kind of where I'm seeing like vintage, like I guess the next step for it, because, you can stay in this kind of 90s kind of vintage t-shirt kind of ideal, or now there's so many subcategories of vintage where you can kind of find your home and focus on the curation of that kind of aesthetic instead. So that's the beauty of it nowadays, at least. Like we're not all just trying to fight over the same product. Like I mean, there are people fighting over multiple different categories of products, but at least it's not everybody at the same time.
If someone wanted to make the best profit margins in 2023, what items should they be looking at that maybe no one else is thinking about at the minute?
Tell us your secrets.
Yeah.
Well, see, I guess personally for me, I'm just looking, there's this whole Y2K macro trend going on right now. So you can really, I feel like, focus either on that macro trend, whether it's like really cool text tees or these like very stylish loud prints, like with Ed Hardy, for example. That's one. Or, you can go that route of true vintage, because there's this, whether it's like military gear or like just really stylish, 50s hoodies. There's a lot of different avenues that you could pick that are the best profit margins for 2023 with vintage. I wouldn't necessarily say, focus on like the graphic tees or the vintage tees anymore. I'm really thinking like that's going to take that kind of, like, it's always going to be there. Like, that's the fundamental, thrifting is identifying vintage t-shirts. And that's always something that's going to sell. But I think that's really going to take that back seat to that Y2K vintage items, the true vintage, and then especially like workwear too. Like, workwear is always super solid, whether it's the Carhartts or it's Levi's or, even like Wilson leather jackets, for example. Like, there's so much that you can choose, but you definitely want to stick to one of those categories. I wouldn't necessarily, there's like a specific product, but I'd definitely say like the sauce to being a successful seller in 2023 is your curation. It's curation over everything right now, for me at least. Like, you want to stick to something, you want to show your story, and your taste even in that. And that's your your secret sauce, because like your content's going to be based off that. Your products are going to resemble that. And then you have this story to tell within your business itself.
I want to ask a question related to that. Where do you find all of these like new trends that come out? Because like for me, like I was going through it the other day and I was trying to find like trends for 2023, which we're going to go on to shortly. And for me, it was like really hard to sort of find like Gorpcore. Like, we didn't even know what that was before like we did the research, right? So like how are you picking that up? Like, how are you finding the trends?
So to be honest, man, I'm like in the streets. So like with fashion, like I feel like I'm always, whether it's I'm in, creating content for TikTok, I'm at fashion markets all the time, like these like independent vintage sellers. Like, I'm literally going to go to one right after this. Like, so, and then like I'm at the grand opening for vintage stores. So I'm like in conversation and I'm around these people who are in this stuff like a lot of the time. My roommate, he like sells vintage pretty much every day. So we're always talking about this stuff. So I'm always around someone buying or selling vintage or selling designer. So that's, at least for, if we're talking about in a seller's kind of like lens, that's where I'm really able to identify the trends, is just being around this stuff all the time. I do read, like, I mean, there's Colted, but that's more for like actual like fashion. Colted, Faded Magazine. Let me see. There's like Archive PDF, Vogue Runway. Those are like the places I look at to really like get a better understanding of fashion history itself. But when it comes to trends and everything, it's really me just kind of being around this stuff.
Going completely rogue here, I think that's a bit of a weakness with ChatGPT. Like we've been looking at that at the moment. Like, it isn't really a subject matter expert on certain things. So like if you type in like the best streetwear trends of 2023, it doesn't have that piece of intel. That's still where a human is needed.
Totally. Until you can train it on specific websites, or you can tell it to go to the internet, which will probably appear this year on ChatGPT. That will be an absolute game changer though. Or if you could tell it to watch certain videos and then come back and summarize it all for me. It's going to be very dangerous.
Go on to Brandon's TikTok, tell us everything that he needs. So he knows all about fashion.
Download his brain.
What I want to crack on with now is actually 2023, the trends, right? So but do you know what? Leading back from what we were just talking about, I actually asked ChatGPT this question.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, yeah?
Brandon will be able to tell you if it's any good or not.
Well, yeah, I asked him this question, and I have to say, like, I don't know, Brandon, a lot of the answers were fairly shit. So, like, some of the highlights I would say is, like, military. It said that camo and military was going to be quite popular this year, which, I don't know, I think you agree with.
I don't know necessarily about camo, but I think military, like, vintage military garments, yes, I would say yeah, most definitely.
Okay, cool. So I asked it for 10 recommendations. That was by far the best.
Yeah.
So out of the 10 recommendations, it's got one,
Nice.
and actually really only half one because it said camo as well as military. So that was interesting. So one that I didn't like, I've heard about it, I've seen it in practice, right? I've seen it out in the street, but I didn't know what it was called, is Gorpcore.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're calling it. Can you explain to us, not knowing anything about this, what the hell it is?
Yeah. So the origins of Gorpcore is like, it comes from like granola culture. So it's like people that are like out mountain, like climbing mountains and hiking and stuff. That's the kind of outerwear that they would wear. So, and then it got really popular with like Arc'teryx, and then it started getting like, you got like parachute pants, and then like hiking boots started coming in, and then people just wanted to dress like they were out for a hike, except they've never touched a mountain in their life.
Where did this come from, mate?
Like I said, man, I wish I was kidding, but it's literally kids wearing Arc'teryx and turning on the shower, and the water just like falling off of them, and they're like, "See, I'm completely dry." Like
everyone is wearing it now. I was talking with Jake before, and we were talking about North Face as the case study, right?
Yeah.
What we wanted to chat with you about is like, what is their secret? Like, how did they go from like a mountaineering brand that was like talking about climbing Everest, to then being like a brand that like pretty much everyone, like, I don't know what it's like over there. Tell me, mate. Because like in the UK, every teenager up to the age of about 25, all of them are wearing a North Face jacket pretty much 24/7.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I think it's like definitely in the mid 2000s, maybe 2010 era. Like, we have like North Face start collabing with a bunch of brands. Like, there's the Supreme collab that's like now just like coveted. They've collabed with Margiela. They've collabed with like Gucci. There's so many times where they've like kind of implemented themselves and put themselves in this fashion world, where now you see these big North Face puffers, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, they're beautiful, dude. Like, I want like a purple big North Face puffer, like super bad, but they're also madly expensive. So, like, even on the resale market, and like vintage ones go for even more. So it's definitely tough. But I think with all of this, like them collabing with these other actual fashion brands, not necessarily like more targeted for like outerwear and doing the whole hiking thing, but them putting themselves in that kind of conversation of like, yo, this actually does look stylish, and you can make this look really, really cool. And then that with whether it's rappers wearing it or influencers wearing it. And then, I mean, you can even look on Pinterest on Gorpcore, like you're going to see like at least like 3 out of 10 photos that people are wearing like North Face jackets.
Yeah.
It's just like that kind of going mainstream, essentially. I mean, originally when North Face was built, they would have gone, right, our target market is X, Y, and Z, middle-aged people that like to go hiking with walking sticks. And then now their target market, they couldn't really define it because it's just everyone. So I suppose, I don't know if it was part of their plan, or if
I wouldn't even say it was. I don't think it was everyone. I think they've got like an audience now. Like, I think they've got like a young sort of like 20-something audience that they're going to ask their mum and dad for the North Face jacket. Like, that's pretty much it, right? Would you agree, Brandon?
I would definitely agree. I think, I mean, they do have their hiking products still, for sure. But I think there is definitely that new segmented market of kids in fashion that want to get those North Face jackets.
Would you say that North Face is a fashion brand now?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, it's stylish enough to be like, if I see someone wearing North Face and it's styled cool, like I'm definitely, I'm complimenting them. So
I have to say, like, when you find someone with a really cool design, because they've got ones with prints on now. There's ones with very bold colors. Like, you see the black and the blue ones, black and yellow, quite often. But ones where it has a really cool pattern that you're like, whoa, that's a piece that is interesting, right?
Yeah. For me, I want the Margiela North Face just so bad. It's just mad expensive though. Like, about $900. Yeah, I love Margiela North Face. Like, that's definitely if I'm buying North Face, it's going to be that.
Like, I have to say though, Gorpcore as a thing that when I was looking at 2023 and recommendations within streetwear, that was by far the biggest one.
Yeah.
Would you say that's like the biggest trend of the year for you?
So, stepping into 2023, Gorpcore has had such like a stronghold, at least last year. So, and this is something I've talked about before. It's going to be interesting to see whether it keeps like that grip on people, or whether, people are going to move to the next thing. I would definitely say it's probably like Y2K, like that whole Y2K aesthetic has been like skyrocketing like so much. And I feel like Gorpcore kind of has not necessarily like taken a backseat to that, but they're like competing for that top spot right now. So like, it's going to be interesting, like I said, to see whether that Gorpcore stays as the top dog, or if, something else is going to trump it.
Yeah, I got it. So another thing that I want to talk to you about is a video you made recently.
Yeah.
Which was around the jeans that this guy wore. He wore them inside out, right?
Yeah.
So we'll flash a screenshot of this video. It's a guy that has a pair of what I would say sort of like, were they flares? Kind of. They're not really that.
I think
they're
just
like
baggy,
traditional flares.
like they're just like loose cut jeans, like very baggy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so this guy, Jake, is wearing these jeans. He puts them inside out. The pockets are free, right? And he's wearing them very seriously. He makes a whole outfit around it. Brandon's joke, which was hilarious, which was like, this guy's going to surely get a tote with him as well, because he's not got any pockets. He's like, surely he's going to get a tote. Is he going to get a tote? And at the end of the video, he didn't have a tote bag, which is a joke because he has no pockets. Hilarious. There's like a moment where they're just trying to get some publicity, right?
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on it? Are people like trying to make something cool and they're doing it just for the clicks? Like, is that going to be a thing that just happens now?
So there's like, it's really tough to navigate, because when I saw that, I was like, there's no like, if you want to have that style, there's like actual like inside out jeans like that you can buy, for example, like, and they'll have pockets. Like, I saw that and I was like, ain't no way like this dude is like rocking this like IRL, like there's no shot. But yeah, there's like, I've seen this a lot where people, maybe it's for the clicks, maybe they just want to be absurd, but like there's just no way like this dude is rocking these jeans inside out. Like, I saw that and I was like, cause the wash, like when he flipped them out, the wash looks cool, the cut looks cool, but like there's no functionality like whatsoever in that. And I was just like, well, I don't know. I see this a lot. Like, especially on TikTok. So I think people are just literally like throwing ideas at the wall to see what sticks. And I don't know.
Would you wear something, and have you worn something purely for the look of it, rather than like it being completely not functional, and just because I like the aesthetic of this piece?
No, like all my clothes have functionality.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like for me, it's like I look at some pieces and I just think that's totally there for the catwalk or there for a picture, and it's not there to actually like go out in.
Yeah, like I believe that, and there was like, these people are wearing like really furry boots, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it looks dope, like it looks cool. Your feet must be sweating, like it must be like really hard to walk around in those. And I was like, no one's wearing those like out in the wild, like on a day-to-day basis. I literally was at the grand opening of that store yesterday and I saw someone wearing them. I was like, okay, dude. I was like, that's cool. All right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people just have better style than me, but who knows? Like I'm a firm believer that like your clothes need to have like functionality. And that's why I choose the brands that I do wear, like just because they have that functionality. If there's a cool piece, I'm a rock it, best believe me, but it's got to make sense. You got to dress for the occasion,
Yeah, 100%. So if I was coming to you, right, and I was going, give me 3 of the key trends that are going to come up for this year, because Jake and I are going to completely change our wardrobes and do whatever you tell us to do.
Yeah.
What would you tell us to buy? Okay.
So here's my 2023 trend predictions. Yeah. All right. So I definitely think, true vintage is going to have probably better, hold on people than what it did beforehand. Also Y2K aesthetics, whether that's Ed Hardy, whether that's these loud graphics, whether it's like Oakley glasses, for example, or Oakley products. And then lastly, just archive. I mean, it's only getting more popular. Designer goods, archive clothing, the whole 9 yards. Like it's going to continue in popularity. So I don't think, I'm a firm believer that, your style is subjective to you. So if you kind of take those things and make something, you're probably going to get a pretty stylish person.
Wow. Okay. So now I know what I'm buying. I'm literally Googling it right now.
You already put an order in, haven't you?
Yeah. Just buy a bunch of Ed Hardy, buy some Rick Owens, and buy a like 1950s vintage hoodie, and you're good.
I love that Ed Hardy's coming back because that went through like what, early 2000s? Was it early 2000s Ed Hardy? Would we say that?
Yeah. I love Ed Hardy. I want to get more pieces. Like I literally love them so much.
Do you remember that? Do you remember Ed Hardy back in the day, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The like the joggers with all the kind of dragons prints and stuff.
Yeah.
Not for me, man.
No, but Brandon can pull it off far better than we would be able to.
I literally, in all of my Daily Grailed Finds videos, I have one Ed Hardy piece. Like, that was kind of like a experiment that I did at the beginning of like last year. Beginning of last year, I was like, I fucking love Ed Hardy, so I'm gonna start putting these in, and I'm gonna see if the value goes up. And there's a slight uptick, so I was pretty happy about that.
They're coming. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The investment piece side of it, because I suppose it's almost cryptographic in a way. It's almost like I'm betting on this thing. I think it's going to come back into fashion. Like, is there anything now that's like super not popular at all that you're like initially investing in now because you're like it's going to be big?
Dude, hear me out. Okay, this isn't. I have no faith that this is going to be popular at all.
But for everyone listening now, this is Brandon's key thing. So like, we're going to literally cause a craze.
It's not a key. It's not a key. This is like purely for me, purely to be funny. And this is like something. I don't know if you've seen the Cane's Antisocial Social Club hoodie. Like, Cane's is like a Southwest like fried chicken spot in the U.S.
Okay.
All right, and Antisocial Social Club did a collab with them. I thought this was great. This is a beautiful collab. And like Antisocial Social Club is not cool anymore whatsoever. It's like 2016. And I saw this Cane's collab and I was like, I am buying that hoodie. I don't give a shit. So for me, I'm just wearing things that like, one, I think like there's so much fun in like when something's not cool and you wear it just for fun, at least in my mind, that's kind of what I'm doing right now, at least specifically with that hoodie, like just having fun. Cause it almost like makes a parody of things. It's like, there's these people who like care so much about like how, like not necessarily how they look, but what they wear. So like throwing like in like them not knowing that I know just as much about fashion as they do, and I'm just like trolling them by wearing like a Cane's Antisocial Social Club hoodie. It's just like, it feels so like uplifting. It's great.
All of the girls' stocks of Antisocial Social Club became completely through the roof for no reason. And all these people, all these sellers are going, why the fuck is this guy buying Antisocial Social Club?
Yeah.
So the next one I wanted to talk to you about as well, right, is something that called Blokecore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brandon, can you explain to Jake what Blokecore is?
Yeah, so Blokecore is just dudes cosplaying as guys that watch soccer. Like they're at like, they have the soccer jersey, they have the jeans, they probably have like a beer in their hand, and they just that's the whole thing. Funny story about this though is like I actually know Brandon, the guy who started this, not me, different Brandon.
You can take the credit.
Yeah. So his name is Brandon Huntley, and like he literally was just watching. He loves soccer, and he was just watching a game, and so he had his jeans, his Sambas, and a football jersey, and like he made like a quick video. Like it was literally like 10 seconds of him like in his apartment, and he's like like I don't remember the specific caption, but he just mentioned Blokecore once. And then this video just absolutely blows up. Everybody starts doing Blokecore. He's talking to GQ. There's like mad, like famous like people talking about Blokecore. These influencers are like, this is the thing. This is the thing. And it all happened on accident. Like it all happened because he was making a joke. So I just think that's hilarious.
I do love it. It's coming around.
Yeah.
Like I've seen professional photo shoots of people wearing we call them Astros in the UK. So basically like boots that you would wear playing football.
Wow.
And I've seen like full GQ level photo shoot of people wearing like an old school football shirt and
what do they wear on their legs?
They're like jeans. Yeah, you can wear like trackies, but like the Blokecore aesthetic is like standard like old school Levi style jeans.
Yeah,
Astros and a football top.
Are they wearing any like Stone Island with it or anything?
No,
just football.
No, it's not about the stone. It's not. That's a completely different market.
It's not football hooligan vibe.
It's not hooliganism.
Okay.
It's like cosplaying, as Brandon said. It's like cosplaying as a bloke, as a lad.
Yeah.
When you're not really a lad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like when he told me that, when he was like, "Yeah, like I did it as a joke." I was like, "So you're telling me all of this happened for no reason?"
I just want to say thank you to Brandon Huntley, as well as you, Brandon, as well, right? I just want to say thank you for allowing me to wear probably one of the most comfortable pairs of shoes I have and wear football shirts, which I have a load of, with jeans, and I'm now cool. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate it.
I just, dude, I'm at a loss for words that one even happened. I'm not even going to lie, but you're welcome. Like, it happened.
I love that. I totally love that. Is there any other trends that are coming up that you found interesting that we can mention?
Yeah, there's definitely like so this is another thing I want to talk about because this is kind of what happened with this core. And there's like, dude, there's so many cores that make your freaking head spin nowadays. Like,
where are people finding these cores? Is it just Reddit? Like, are we just getting it on?
Dude,
Reddit?
Is there
our Blokecore?
Yeah, dude, that's actually a great question. That would be something to find out. But there is, so there's this one called Businesscore, and that's pretty much you're cosplaying as someone going to the office. So you're not necessarily like wearing like suits and stuff, but you're wearing like varsity jackets with like a tie for whatever reason. I don't really see like it looks cool. Don't get me wrong, and you're professional or whatever. But like, it's so funny because like this probably like people started dressing like this. And it's like always like one mass content creator, like one who has a lot of followers will like talk about this core. And then like the next level talks about it. And then the next level talks about it. And then the next level talks about it. And then like the genuine populace is just like, yeah, we love this. This core is great. And they're like, they're like putting it on and stuff. And it's like, oh man.
With that one in particular, what I want to do is like I want to see people dressing up, you know, like they're in Wall Street with like the Patagonia gilets. I want to see people dressing up in like a very formal suit setting. There's like different ways of doing it, aren't there? There's definitely some parodies to be had there. For sure.
Yeah, that would be interesting if people like actually like trolled these people. And like here, let me see. I'm pulling up a picture right now. Like, yeah, so dude's wearing a leather jacket. He has a cigarette in his mouth. He has a white button down, a black tie, and black slacks with boots. That's the thing. Yeah. But yeah, so this trend started getting popular probably like late 2022. And then I'm like scrolling on TikTok and then I see this video and it's like 3 trends I'm tired of. And it's like Businesscore. And I'm like, dude, this literally, like I reacted to the video because I was like, this literally, like people just started talking about this, like at least like in the mainstream sense. Like there's no like, how are you tired of this? Like there's no way.
It's just guys that don't have dress shirts in their closet. That's what it is.
They bought all of their football jerseys and everything. And now like someone's talking about wearing business suits and they're like, God damn it. I'm like late. So, yeah, and I mean, that's just the thing with TikTok too. Like, I always take the trends that go around on there, like, with a grain of salt, at least for me, because, like I said, I just dress for me. I don't, like, really, like, like to do that. I mean, honestly, a Blokecore fit does sound pretty comfortable, so I might have to try that one out.
That's the Aveste 2023 trend of the year.
Yeah.
100%. It's not Businesscore, so it's got to be this.
Yeah. But like these trends, they move so fast on TikTok. It's like it's like a bullet train that just like reaches. And I mean, it makes sense because you have this network of content creators pushing the same idea, where then like it gets to that mainstream audience, and then like they start liking some pictures about, or like they like start liking some videos about, let's say Businesscore, for example, and then their whole feed is Businesscore, and they're like, I'm tired of this. I'm done. I want to see something new. So like the trend cycle on TikTok moves so fast. So like you just get settled in one thing, and then someone's probably going to talk about like let's make a core right now. Let's figure it out. Like let's see.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a segment now where we're trying to make something cool.
Yeah,
like something that is totally not
uncool.
Cool
yeah.
right now.
Yeah,
I love it. I love this idea. What we could be trendsetters right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming up with something new.
We could let's put on our best thinking caps. And
can we bring back leather?
Yeah,
Leathercore.
We could do that.
Leathercore. Yeah,
all leather
all
trousers.
Leather trousers.
Leather trousers.
Discocore.
Discocore. Jake, you would love that.
Yeah.
Discocore. Yep. We got like very loud button-down pattern shirts, flare pants.
The tassels on the tassels on the arms.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. We got the round glasses. It's like Bohemian, except we're going to the club. So that's
a great idea.
Yeah.
Done.
We need to do that. Let's release a video tomorrow about Discocore.
Yeah.
We'll see how far it goes.
Dude, if that accidentally blows up, I'm gonna just like lose my mind. That's like the last straw. That's the straw that breaks my back, bro.
We'll do a social experiment where we clip up only the bit that we just described, like all of the elements of what Discocore is, and we'll put a few pictures of people wearing Discocore, and we'll just release it into the world and see how it goes.
Just do that picture of Owen Wilson from Zoolander, where he's like, it's like Discocore.
We'll use the audio as well. That's super popular right now.
Dude, that's perfect. We're done. That's easy.
Oh, we've nailed it. Right. We've got to. So basically, guys, if you ever want to come up with a trend for yourself, we've just literally given you a step-by-step way of doing it. You come up with a thing, you get a cultural reference, you find the items that are part of it, you release a TikTok, you get 8 friends to also release a TikTok, and then you've created a trend.
Yeah. And then you just let it do its thing.
We should definitely release that.
You also set up a little shop and cash in as well in the short term.
Yeah,
set up your Shopify and just go for it.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry, I'm on it already.
Another thing I wanted to chat to you about is like collaborations, right? Do you think that like collaborations are actually like they're not that useful, or are you a bit sick of them?
Yeah, I think it just depends when it comes to the collaboration. I mean, there's like been like Nike, Sakai, and like what is Clot? They did like a triple collab, and I was like, this is too far. This is way too far. Like that's too much collabs. I think when it's done tastefully and it's like an authentic collaboration, more like kind of how like Oakley and Braindead did it, where it's like actually it's a cool product, it's 2 cool companies. It makes a lot more sense. Like another one, like I'm literally here. I'll pull it up eventually, but like I don't know if you guys watch anime, but I love like Chainsaw Man, and I also love Yoji Yamamoto. And Yoji Yamamoto and Chainsaw Man are doing like they did a collab, and it's not like just like printed T-shirts, like it's like genuine pieces, and I need something from that collection. Like that is just like so. If it's in your market and it's the things you like, whether it's like Antisocial, Social Club and Canes, or Chainsaw Man and Yoji Yamamoto. Like,
he's really trying to sell out the Antisocial Social Club hoodies, and there's something going on here. I don't trust it.
No, don't worry. There's no premeditation like Discocore. This is just quality.
Off the cuff.
For your brand, would you collab with someone?
I think I would definitely collab with like another underground brand, probably.
Yeah.
If I got, very big, then I would be more selective with who I'm collabing with. Like, ideally, I would want to work with Margiela. I love Margiela. or Yoji Yamamoto. I also love them. CDG is another one, not CDG Play, but like Come Dig Our Son. But like on the ground floor level, like I would like to collab. There's like some good Dallas brands here. My friend makes these t-shirts with, it's called Vermont, and it's great. So I definitely want to collab with him. And then like as I start growing, there's like brands like Pain Star, Kentucky Boy Tyler, No Faith Studios. Those are just some of the guys that I really like. Didn't like their products, so I would love to do a collaboration with them.
Yeah, super interesting. So you basically practice what you preach, because if you don't believe in collaborations and you think that you're sick of them, and you wouldn't do them yourself, there's something a bit wrong.
Yeah. No, see, like and even in content, as long as like the collaboration is organic and it makes sense, like I'm all for it. Like when content creators are like doing sponsorships for like, I don't want to like call anybody out, but there's like a dude who specifically like works with like Urban Outfitters and PacSuns and like places like that, and it's just like, can't do it. I can't do that. Like even if they offered me like a fat amount of money, I would still say no. Like I care about showing my audience, like if it's going to be a paid advertisement, it's going to be something that makes sense for me and my audience. I'm not just looking out for myself.
Yeah, got it. Oh, so that was fascinating. I find all of those cores
are just ridiculous.
Yeah. Did you even know about that?
I've only seen Businesscore. I hadn't heard of the football one. Blokecore. Never heard of that.
You never heard of Discocore?
No.
Well, you will real soon.
Yeah.
Just wait.
We go into the brand new round. We almost need like some like theme music for this. Yeah. This is going to be the brand new round. Thank you very much. That's going to be Streetwear News Roundup. We're going to talk about some of the latest interesting news with probably the best person in the world to talk about Streetwear news, Brandon.
Yes.
Brandon, question number 1.
Yes.
What the fuck has happened to Balenciaga?
Yeah, that is a tough conversation to have. They got caught in a whole controversy with like virtual bad stuff. I don't want to go too much in detail, but then so they're trying to shift blame to the agency that they used to do the photo shoot. It was there's just a lot of mixed messages there, like very negative connotation to the images pertaining children. And then, they're trying to sue that agency and saying it was all their fault. But it's like, do you just like overstep all of this stuff? Like, like it's just, they put like BDSM products with children. Like there's no, like who is like, this is a fantastic idea, like that is terrible.
It's just totally wrong. And I think what the worst part of it for me is that have they apologized? I haven't really seen like them coming out and apologizing.
So,
have they actually done it?
They've done an apology. Demna has apologized. And they also, this isn't like a direct apology, but there was like a point in time where they were offering like free sunglasses and like card holders. So like, and this like conveniently happened like 2 weeks after this whole controversy started happening. So, but at the same time, everyone was like, burn their Balenciaga, cancel Balenciaga. But Balenciaga sales are up. Balenciaga products are still selling out, and people are still wearing Balenciaga. So like, I don't know. I don't know like where this kind of contrast, because like whoever burned their Balenciaga is dumb as hell.
Do you reckon they're going to suffer in the long term, or do you reckon this is just going to be one of those things that they just ride out and they're back?
I think they're just going to ride out. Like once the next collection comes out, everyone's going to be just on the same thing, like still loving Balenciaga.
It's so weird. Like the way, like I have to say, if this was like an influencer that had dressed their kid up, if it was an individual, I think regardless of who that individual was, I think they'd be in serious trouble.
Yeah, see, it's a lot harder to hold an entire company accountable versus like just a person. Like a person you can point at, like this company, like it's like a mass collective of people. So it's like you really can't like as much as Twitter tries, they really can't, beat it. It's hard. I mean, like I think, they've tried to prove their point that it's not their fault or whatever, but like like I said, it's just so hard to hold a company accountable. You know what I'm saying?
But also, Brandon, someone signed that
Yeah,
off.
no, exactly.
Multiple people have signed
Multiple
that off.
people
Yeah.
did.
So to sue the creative agency when you've ultimately got the power, like when you work with a creative agency, you've 100% got the power to go, no, do that reshoot again.
Exactly.
Like, that's not cool. And you would be in the brainstorm session where you actually go like, let's do this.
Yeah, that didn't happen by
No,
accident.
exactly. You know, and there's like there's even like court documents referencing this stuff, like in the, like, whether it's like on the table or something. So it's like very subtly done. So it's just like so confusing how they thought they were going to like pull this off and like think they're like edgy and cool for that. Like when it's just like disgusting, you know?
Yeah, it's wrong. It's wrong. So summary, wrong. Weird that they've come back.
Yeah.
But they're back bigger than ever. Super
very weird.
Next news round. Do we do the jingle again?
No, never again.
Okay. Let's go on to Rafe Simmons. So explain that for us, mate.
Peace. He didn't die, but rest in peace, Raf Simons, you know, clothing label. After, you know, a very long time of being open, he's shutting down his doors. It does make sense why he's doing it. I also spoke with some other people about this too. Like, his new products just aren't selling. He's got this like super, like, everyone loves Raf Simons archive products. No one really buys Raf Simons 2020 products. You know, it's harder to sell because, I mean, the profit margins or not the profit margins, but the price point is still super high. Like, it's still ridiculously high, but there's a lot less resale value in that. So I'd rather spend $1,000 on an archive Raf Simons product that is going to continue to, you know, the value is only going to continue to go up.
We can carry on with our final segment of the podcast.
Yes.
Where we're going to talk about some brands that need to do better.
Perfect.
It's another fun one. It's another section that we thought would be quite interesting. So are there some brands that you can think of off the bat that you're like, come on, you've had a really bad 2022.
Absolutely.
You need to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. First, we're going to have Alix and Givenchy. Dude, I love Matthew Williams. I love what he's done. You know, his work is great. But with Alix recently, I mean, and he's torn between two labels, so it makes sense. But like, the shows have just been kind of boring. Even at Givenchy, like, it's kind of been boring. His 2022 couture show was amazing. And everything after that at Givenchy, I've been just like very bored with. It's just not very appealing to me. It seems like he's just kind of doing the cookie cutter, and I want it to be better. I want it to do better. I want it to look cooler, be better.
Was there something you wanted to ask in this one?
I was going to ask Brandon, who's your favorite like fast fashion or favorite like high street brand to go away from to step away from designer for the minute? Like, who's your favorite fast fashion or high street brands, as we call them in the UK?
Fast fashion, nobody. I will never.
Nobody. Never.
Yeah,
There's no,
never.
Never ever pop into Zara or H&M.
No.
Never.
Hell no.
What about Uniqlo? I know a lot of people are quite keen on Uniqlo in the States. So
Yeah. I mean, I like Uniqlo, but at this point, man, like I've drawn a line in the sand. I can never go back.
If you wanted to buy a plain white T-shirt, where would you go and buy it from?
I'm buying it vintage, my brother. I'm going to get a thrift.
We knew that.
All right. Okay, Brandon. Let's play a little game here. We're going into Dragon's Den. You call it something different. You call it Shark Tank in the US. Right. We're going into Shark Tank. You're there as S.I.L. The guy's there. He's the owner of Uniqlo. He goes, right, man, I can change your life. Right.
Yeah.
Let's do a Gap style deal with Yeezy. I'm going to give you $2 million right now if you design a collection that's going to go in Uniqlo. Do you completely change your morals?
You know, I would have to. No, I don't know. I think it's tough because it's like, yes, that could do so much for me, but I really have to look at like Uniqlo's supply chain. And if I can like be like, okay, if we can do this better, my fabrics with your brand recognition, like if we do this my way, it's sustainable and it actually like works and we can still get that price point down, then yeah, sure. But if they're just like, yeah, you just design the clothes, come up with the ideas, and we'll use the same good old fast fashion supply chain, then yeah, nah.
When you buy vintage, how do you know that the brands that you're buying have that sort of like slow fashion supply chain in mind? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about it. Like if I was going to a thrift store and I was going to pick up a brand, I wouldn't have a clue what the supply chain was. Like, do you are you looking into it? Like, do you know the fabrics are good? It's from a good location. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. So as far as with vintage in specific, it's more about I'm just buying secondhand. It's not necessarily I'm removing myself from having to buy that $20 tee from Uniqlo. I'm removing myself from buying those Jaded London like flare pants because I'll buy them from an underground brand or I'll buy them from a big brand. And being able to take yourself out of that, if everybody could do it, then, that would actually make an impact. It's harder being just me and trying, shop sustainably when I can.
You mentioned a couple of brands there that you really like.
Yeah.
I want you to go through, give me 3 brands that you're loving right now and let me know why do you love them. Let's give them some shout out and give them some love.
Yeah, absolutely. So, once again, I'm going to say Painstar. I've been following them for forever. They make pieces that are like it's like modern dystopian kind of looks. So there's a sense of futurism in there, but it's also like, it's very grounded in like what previous designers have done. So they paid inspiration to like Junia, they paid inspiration to Undercover, but they do it in an authentic way where it's not like, I'm just ripping this idea. So I really appreciate how Painstar creates their products, and also really, really cool. Second is Kentucky Boy Tyler. He makes most of his products from scratch, and they're just like beautiful. Like he uses like Boro methods. He uses like Sashiko. Like it's all like, if you think homegrown vintage streetwear brand, it's this dude. Like he'll make patchwork stuff. He makes like very, very cool Boro jackets. Like it's just like the most cool, most authentic way to be that like one of one or like found items kind of recycled, reused, and create something new brand. Lastly, I'd have to say Increase the Piece or No Faith Studios. No Faith is a lot similar to Painstar. They have that kind of more edgy, more futuristic kind of look. And then Increase the Piece is like, their graphics are just cool. I love it's like they screen print all of their own stuff, and I'm a loss for words. Like I love everything.
Love it. That was very nice. It's nice to shout out some, brands that we like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Brandon, that you wanted to chat about?
No, I'm all set, man. Thank you guys for having me on today, dude. I love talking about fashion, so being able to do it in this kind of style is it's very nice. And you guys,
oh mate,
I mean, we're making Discocore, so like we got something done today.
Mate, we really appreciate it. Like it's, I have to say, like, we talk to a lot of people in the scene, and we've done a lot of these podcasts already. And I have to say, like, your energy and your excitement about the industry and knowledge is honestly it's just unparalleled. Second to none, isn't it? So,
Thank you.
Yeah. No, and we really mean that. So yeah, thank you so much for chatting to us. It's really exciting. Before you go, you've got more followers than us, so we don't need to give you any more. But if they do want to go and follow you, where do they go?
Yeah, so just follow me on TikTok, Twitch, or Instagram at I'm Seeing Ghosts. That is where you're going to find me. You'll find all of my funny, informative, or me just fucking around content. That's the place to be. So thank you. Yes, follow me. Do that right.
Yeah, do that right now. Definitely do that right now. Mate, thank you so much for jumping on. Like, it's been brilliant. But yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
Of course, guys.